with the conversation, not on politics, not on sports, but on race. Conversation I heard recently between Chris Cuomo of News Nation and conservative commentator Tucker Carlson. The interview was a wide-ranging conversation that touched on a number of topics, including quotas and DEI. Don't believe me? Tucker Carlson aired it first, and then obviously News Nation aired a snippet of it. Take a look at what I'm about to show you.
It became obvious that the meritocracy was producing an incredibly lopsided society, and that freaked people out, and it felt unfair to them. The meritocracy produces an outcome that you may not be ready for, actually, because it's rooted in nature, and you can't change it. So these are super complicated questions, but I know that a system that rewards people on the basis of race and punishes others on the basis of race creates hatred and division.
I was very uncomfortable hearing that from Tucker Carlson. Let me be very, very clear. Meritocracy created a lopsided environment. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how you took that, but let me tell you how I take it. We live in a white power structure society. White men run this country, if not this world. And what Tucker Carlson basically said there was, if you're saying a meritocracy, that is what existed, and when that existed before the likes of affirmative action, before civil rights legislation, before DEI, et cetera, if you're saying a meritocracy created a lopsided society, and that lopsided society was in the favor of white folks, then essentially what you're saying is white folks got their stuff on merit and everybody else, maybe not so much. That's how I took it. That's what I heard. What did y'all hear? What y'all hear? That's what I heard. That's what I heard. That is why I was so uncomfortable speaking to Chris Cuomo last night, because I was a guest on his show in the immediate aftermath of about 7 to 8 minutes of Chris Cuomo talking to Tucker Carlson. I had not seen it up until that moment, and they needed me to opine on it. So before I even delve further into this subject, let me air for you what I said to Chris Cuomo last night in the immediate aftermath of hearing what Tucker Carlson had to say. Check it out. He was dismissive of the racial construct notion that you brought to his attention, not realizing how palpable and how insulting, dare I say, that would come across to so many African Americans in this country. The fact of the matter is that covering the world of sports, think about it from this perspective. They were telling folks, they were telling the black man he couldn't play the quarterback position. You were telling the black man he couldn't be a head coach. You were telling the black man that he couldn't be a leader of men. Let's not get started with what you were telling the black women. And over the course of time, we've seen how exceptional people from all races are and can be, and we see how deficient others can be. Then you also have to take into account the kind of society that we lived in. Remember, I got left back in the 4th grade because I had a 1st grade reading level, okay? And I had undiagnosed dyslexia that I ultimately had to overcome. What was one of the challenges of overcoming it? I was in the streets all the time because my mother had to work 2 jobs, because my father wasn't handling his business appropriately. And as a result, there was a weight on the shoulders of my entire family. And so as a result, sometimes you found yourself running the streets. Sometimes you found yourself being preoccupied with things you shouldn't be preoccupied with. And as a result, that was taking up your time instead of you hitting the books and doing what you have to do. He didn't mention any of those kind of things. He didn't mention any of the potential obstacles that could lie in wait. He simply wanted to lean on race, talking to the potential intelligence or lack thereof of a race of people and what have you. And I just said to myself, wow, he really, really seems a bit detached from reality. And I was being nice. I was being very, very nice. I could have said some other things, but I don't know him like that. Don't want to accuse the brother of anything. But the bottom line is I was very uncomfortable listening to him, because when you use words like lopsidedness to describe a meritocracy, and that meritocracy vastly favored people that look just like Tucker Carlson, and you're lamenting the state of affairs that exists in society today, and you're pointing the finger at DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, as if that's what's gotten black folks opportunities, not their merit. If you're alluding to stuff like affirmative action, civil rights legislation, or anything else that occurred in the aftermath of Jim Crow laws, that certainly was suppressive, and you're pointing to those things to indicate there's a problem in our society, what you're saying is it's a problem because we're no longer judging anything on merit. So that means whatever's going on in our society today, whatever opportunities are lacking for quote unquote the white establishment, then excuse me, it can't be about merit. Let's get back to merit. And this is to me what Tucker Carlson came across as not getting. Let's say, for example, 30 positions was filled. Because if you watch the interview, he was talking about, hey, what's up with all of these communities, black community, Hispanic community, white? We're just individuals. We're people. We're people. All of us are at the mercy of a system. We're a nation of rules. We're a nation of laws. We're supposed to be. And if that's what's going on in our world, well, who's hovering over it? Who's the puppeteer pulling the strings? Do we not see the Democrats right now lamenting everything about Donald Trump's power? Do we not see the influence that power can wield? Do we not see a guy in Elon Musk who's unelected? His position as over Doge does not require Senate confirmation or anything like that. Do we not see the power that he's wielding when he's essentially an advisor and a consultant to the president? But clearly somebody who gets the president to do a lot of what he says? Power matters. Influence matters. And when it's almost always in the hands of people that look like Tucker Carlson, where does that leave the rest of us if a Tucker Carlson is on the airwaves spewing that that's the kind of meritocracy we should want? Is it just me? Is it just me? And then you want test scores, standardized test scores. I get that part. If everybody is experiencing the same conditions, same qualities of schools and education, same quality of teachers, same qualities of life, having to walk through the streets of America to get to school. Does everybody have to take mass transit? Does everybody have to take the train? Does everyone have to walk through impoverished neighborhoods, rough streets, crime? Does everybody have the same limited amount of distractions? Yes or no? The answer to that would be no, which means the conditions are not the same, which means to just use something generic that's supposed to be applicable to everyone when everyone's situations and circumstances and what is available to them and what they're exposed to is not the same. In Tucker Carlson's world, none of that should be taken into consideration based on what I heard. Where does that leave us? That's where I'm coming from. That's my problem with what he said. That's what made me incredibly, incredibly uncomfortable. Because when you see people lamenting politicians who are in office and looking at them, their personality, their experiences, the influence that they wield, and where their soul lies. When you found yourself listening to Tucker Carlson, as I listened to him last night, I just got the impression, wow, this is not a dude that sees much outside of his bubble that he either is willing to relate to or have compassion for. I might be wrong with that. I don't know. I'm only going by what I saw. It looks very uncomfortable because his voice resonates. And it resonates with people who have influence. And if they're listening to him, what kind of influence are they willing to exercise? And what role is he playing in it? He's no longer at Fox News, no longer at CNN or MSNBC. He's got his own social media following. He's free as a bird to operate with relative impunity, to say whatever it is he wants to say. That's pretty damn scary. If you don't fall under the umbrella of merit or a meritocracy that he feels you should. Just my thoughts based off of what I saw. We'll see. We'll see. Ben Shapiro is the next subject that I'm going to tackle.